Right now we're still doing the more reactions. Now we're joined by Mr. Ralph Mupita, who's the CEO of Old Mutual Emerging Markets. Now, Mr. Mupita, coming into this budget, quite a lot of talk about government needing to actually make sure that they solidify their fiscal consolidation. Your thoughts on that? Has it done enough?
Well, look, if you look at October 2015 and where the medium-term expenditure framework was projecting the fiscal deficit and the debt accumulation position, certainly this budget over-delivered on that. And, coming at the fiscal deficit of minus 3.2%, we would have probably, as Old Mutual, liked to see it closer to 3. I think it's certainly over-delivered relative to where we were in October last year. So the fiscal consolidation, I think there is a tick there. What is more important, I think, fundamentally is the initiatives that the minister spoke about around reforming the state, looking at state-owned enterprises. What then happens going forward? I think it's also important to then follow through with very specific actions that are about growth-enhancing reforms. Those are the things that I think will be truly material to if we were to avoid a sovereign ratings downgrade.
Just from what's missing from this budget, what would you say as business would assist the country in terms of stimulating growth?
Well, look, I think as I look at the budget, I think there are probably two comments to make. I think the minister was too kind on the taxes side. I think there was a potential to increase a variety of taxes. Certainly our view was that there was room and space, given the situation the country finds itself, in some small increase in VAT, maybe not 1%, but maybe even 0.5%. That could have added about 10 billion to the fiscus, is our estimation. So I think there was something there that could have been done, and also on the marginal taxes for the much higher income earners, there could have been some scope to collect a bit more. So the minister was very kind, and but I think some of that action might have been necessary. And then on the much more broader growth-enhancing reforms, I think the key issue is how do we crowd in private capital. So there were good points made around state-owned enterprises needing to improve the governance thereof. The minister was quite clear that he was going to avoid the word privatization. But our view as business is certainly that we do need to look at either full or partial privatization of state-owned enterprises, because those institutions drain resources that could have been funded to education, health, and the social infrastructure side of the economy, which desperately needs that investment. But that is being crowded out by supporting state-owned enterprises that are not functioning well, and I think we've got to call it that. So that is one area where we certainly could bring in private sector, crowding in more capital.
If I could put you on the spot for a moment there, like the rationalization of these state-owned entities, if you had to be the person in charge, where would you start?
Well, look, the big areas, or the areas of focus right now, have been around on the energy side. But I think also there was good comments or good points made there by the minister around, following the successful renewables initiative to kind of bring coal and gas through that framework. So on the energy side, certainly I think there's scope there, particularly on the generation side. And then on SAA, do we need a multitude of airlines? And the answer is no. And so we're certainly very heartened by the move to look at rationalizing South African Airways and bring in some private capital there. So I think airlines and Eskom, because they take up a bulk of the guarantees, and you got to add those guarantees back to the debt position to figure out what is our real liability there. So those are the two areas I would focus on.
All right, Mr. Ralph Mupita, who's the CEO of Old Mutual Emerging Markets, wrapping us up here on the front of the stairs of the National Assembly. Nompu, it's back to you in the